Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you doing today?
Well, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Good morning. This is Paula from Groundwork. I'm just going to keep my camera off for a little bit.
All right. Good morning, Paula. Thanks for joining. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, everybody.
Got some more people trickling in here.
Yeah, Parker, I just sent you something that if we have a moment, it's a timely issue that we might want to talk about just briefly.
Okay.
And there's a slide deck, just super short, that I don't have permission to share because I'm not a host.
Okay.
But be that as it may, it's time sensitive and it just came up yesterday and I thought we could throw it out there.
Okay. Do you want to do it near the beginning?
We could.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it has nothing to do with the topic at hand.
Okay.
I regret. I mean, well, not nothing, but yeah, it's ancillary for sure.
Well, it must be a coffee hour chat because my hair is Duffy Bedhead today. It's 9 o'clock now. We'll give it a couple more minutes for some folks to trickle in. I see Jim's joined us. Good morning, Jim. Can you hear us?
Good morning.
I was on a Zoom meeting the other day, and I don't know why it started, but everybody was introducing themselves and then saying what elevation above sea level they were at. Like, this is the nerdiest group of people.
Kind of like that though.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that for myself.
I'd have to Google it. I don't know the answer either.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Diane. All right, it's 9:01 now. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Got some more people trickling in here.
Well, we can talk about the weather, how cold it was at everybody's location this morning.
Yes.
But the sun is out, at least in my location. So.
My mom lives downstate, kind of between Grand Rapids and Lansing, and she took a picture of her car dash this morning and it said -20.
Thanks.
Oh.
Yeah, we have a new coworker in Lansing, and yesterday he was digging out a foot of snow, and he said it was up to his knees or something. I've got a kitty cat keeping me warm and an Afghan. He had a lot of snow, and the drifts were up to, I forget how high, his knees or something.
Yeah, seems like we've missed some of those systems and are just blessed with our usual lake effect this winter so far.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, why don't we get started here? All right, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Parker Amo. I'm from the Grand Traverse Conservation District. So welcome to another monthly Food and Farming Network Coffee and Conversation. I'll be your host today. So the Food and Farming Network is a tapestry of local organizations, businesses, and individuals dedicated to building Northwest Michigan's agricultural future by identifying areas of need throughout the region's food system and coordinating action to address them. So today our topic is supporting migrant farm workers. But we did want to do a little quick aside before we got into it. Wendy sent me something a little time sensitive for all of us in the food and farming community. And I'm going to share that with you now.
And Parker, yeah, we can do that and then maybe go back to quick introductions. Okay. I know there's some new people on the.
That sounds good.
On the call. So yeah, very quickly, and to not take away from why we're all here, there is an opportunity until the 22nd of February to comment to FDA and FSMA, which is shorthand for the Food Safety Modernization Act, about a proposed rule on food traceability. And if you want to jump to the next slide, Parker, I tried very quickly to synthesize some information overnight. My bad that this wasn't on my radar screen longer, because it's certainly been out for a longer time. But as often happens when it gets close to the deadline, we pay more attention. And I'm still waiting for some comment back from our MSU Extension colleagues who work specifically in food safety and FSMA. And so, to be continued if you have interest in the subject. But basically, there is a list that you're seeing here now of people that would be exempt from this rule that will ratchet up the food traceability requirements for many food businesses. Small farmers that sell just directly, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to spend a lot, if you do produce that's raw, typically consumed raw, etc. So we won't spend a lot of time, but you can read there that there is some exemptions provided in the current language. That's the good news if you want to phrase it that way from a regulatory standpoint. And then if we move down to, and this will also reach out potentially if we move down to who is partially exempt or maybe exempt, now we move into some other groups of growers, food businesses, including retail and members of our supply chain for local food, which would certainly potentially touch farm to school. And Diane probably has maybe more specific information about that. But so this is where the questions and the comment that could be really helpful to help direct FSMA, sorry for the barking dog in the background, as to where they might fine tune this still. And that, if you remember back in 2013, that commentary did help direct FSMA to do some things that they had proposed, but then realized when they got a lot of comment that perhaps they hadn't, considered all aspects of that proposed rule. So I think you can move to the last slide, Parker. Again, not to take up more time, and I'm happy to send anybody on this call this slide deck, which is very preliminary. But there is great detailed information from our partners at the National Sustainable Ag Coalition. A couple links there that I'll post in the chat when we're done here. And then the direct link as to how to comment on the rule to FDA vis-a-vis the FSMA process. So just wanted to bring that up because it's time sensitive, and it certainly could potentially have some real meaningful impacts on us being able to eat more local food, which is what we're all about. So thanks for giving me the time.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Wendy. Yep, you can find that information there, and I can send it out to you afterwards if anyone wants it. All right, I guess we'll start with some introductions. We've got a lot of folks on today, so we'll ask that you keep it brief. But it looks like in my top right corner, or left corner, I've got Beatrice.
Hola, everyone. I'm Beatriz. Everybody calls me Beatrice or B. I'm with the Migrant Resource Council. That's who I'm representing. I have an actual full-time job. That's my volunteer time with the council. But I am the chair for the council, and we're very, very grateful for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today, B. It looks like we've got also from the Migrant Resource Council, Carolina.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Carolina. I work at the Health Department, Pennsylvania District Health Department, and I am the secretary of the Migrant Resource Council. Thanks for
Thanks for
having me.
joining us today. We've got Brian.
Hi, good morning. Brian Wibby. I'm from MSU Extension and I do youth and child work.
Thanks for joining us. Casey?
Hi, I'm Casey Haggerty. I am a contractor with Groundwork Center for Resilient Communities.
Thanks for joining. Jessica?
Hi, I'm Jessica Stopker. I work as the Community Engagement Coordinator for Mana Food Project, which is a food bank that covers Antrim, Charlevoix, and Emmett counties.
Awesome, thank you. Diane?
Hi, I'm Diane Connors, and I'm with Groundwork Center also. And the reason Wendy mentioned Farm to School is I had worked on that here regionally, and then also work on a statewide initiative called 10 cents a meal for Michigan's kids and farms that helps to reimburse schools for purchasing Michigan and locally grown fruits and vegetables. And to just add one last thing, if I could, on the presentation Wendy made, I was around in 2003 and worked on a previous letter that the network put together about the FSMA rule, and had a lot more time to research and interview farmers to find out the impact. And from what I could glean just from a very quick reading of what's on at NSAC, the concern here is not if a farmer sells literally direct, but if there's this secondary entity, so a distributor, a farmer cooperative that perhaps is distributing a food hub, those kinds of things. So when we start to build that supply chain that sort of allows smaller farms to aggregate their product or somehow get it delivered, but not by them themselves. And I don't know the specifics enough to know either, but it's just like, oh my gosh, this is out there. So, okay.
All right,
Thanks.
Diane. We got Paula joining us.
Good morning. I'm Paula from the Groundwork Center, and I work on community health policy.
Thanks for joining us. Jane Lively.
Hi, I'm Jane Lively. I'm a part owner and manager of the Lively Farm in Leelanau County.
All right, thanks, Jane. I've got Haley here.
Good morning. I'm Haley Hildebrand. I'm the Northern Michigan Regional Liaison for Governor Whitmer.
All right, thanks for joining us, Haley. Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren Silver, and I'm with the Grand Traverse Conservation District and work for a program called the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program, serving Grand Traverse and Antrim counties. Parker and I work together on that.
Thanks, Lauren. Jim B.
Jim Barton-Hagan, a farmer in Suttonsville, Michigan, growing fruits, various fruits.
I've got Daniel here.
Morning, everyone. Daniel Marbury, Crosshatch Center for Art and Ecology.
All right. Wendy?
Yes, I didn't introduce myself before. I'm Wendy Whelan, and I work for MSU Extension, specifically on community food systems issues. And I also am a product center, MSU Product Center innovation counselor, doing confidential business counseling with a lot of great farm and food businesses around the North. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Wendy.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you all that the Northern Michigan Farm Conference, Small Farm Conference starts today. So yay, Daniel knows all about that.
Yes. All right. And Esmail, I apologize if I mispronounced that.
Yeah, you are fine. My name is Esmail Nasrullah Azhar. I'm viticulture extension educator in Northwest Michigan.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We got one more person, Zoom user. I think that's Don. You're on mute, though.
Don Coe, and I'm representing the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. We're switching a lot of our programs from preservation of farm to preservation of farmers. And this is an issue of real interest. I want to add to what Wendy just said on the FSMA, because it goes back quite a bit of time when I was on the Ag Commission. The battle for FSMA is that the food inspection programs should be doable, affordable, and scalable. And I think you see some of those exemptions which allow very small farm operations to be exempted from some of the regulations, and inspections are very specifically directed to that scalable question. So if you can make comments, it's worth making those comments.
Awesome, thank you, Don. All right. So the topic this morning is supporting our migrant farm workers. So some things we may touch on are current issues related to COVID-19 adaptations, food access and recycling, as well as some larger categories like language barriers, healthcare access, and community action. And like I said, we're very pleased to be joined by a couple individuals from the Migrant Resources Council. So to begin, I'm wondering if one or a couple of you could give us an overview of the Migrant Resource Council, tell us a little bit about the work that you do, and then from there we can start a conversation about these issues and opportunities facing our migrant worker community. So Bea or Carolina, if either you'd like to take it away a little bit.
I was waiting if Carolina was going to step up.
I was waiting for you.
And then I'll cut her off because she can go forever. So I'll let her start.
Well, good morning, everybody. Again, thanks for having us. Migrant Resource Council is a group of organizations in actually in all Michigan. We have our region is here only northwest of Michigan, and it's like we have, I think, around 8 or 10 counties that we cover in our area. Grand Traverse, Leelanau, Benzie, the northern counties, and the downs, like that's the south would be Manistee, and they're escaping my mind. I'm sorry. I have a list of them. I should know them by heart. But we have representation from DHS and from the local health departments, and just many agencies that work with migrant and seasonal agricultural workers in our area. Our main purpose is to connect these families and these individuals with services in the area, and help and be a bridge between them and the community, them and workers, and I'm sorry, growers that might be needing some support too. So I think one of the biggest struggles that we have through the years have been to be able to engage with the growers. Actually, they're so busy, and many don't know us. They don't know we exist, and it has been really hard to connect with them and to bring them in. We meet once a month, and for some reason we have not been able to have their voice represented in our meetings. Very often we have all kind of organizations involved in our meetings, and advocating for workers, but the growers' voice is not heard because they're just simply not there, and we have not been able to reach out to them. Thankfully, we have a couple of our members that there are actually growers too, and just one way or another we can kind of know of what are their needs, and what is going on in that end of our world, right? You do want to add something, Bea?
Yes. So I'm a former migrant child. So my family would migrate from Texas to Michigan, and we would do that all summer. And so when I was younger, one of the things that was coming up was like, okay, people are coming up from the south and they're coming to northern Michigan, and the weather's different, the education system is different. I mean, like, you have to change everything, you know, like you couldn't use the insurance you had in one state and then use it up here in Michigan, right? So we were like, okay, what is lacking is that middle person, that middle group that's going to connect these individuals. So that's how the Migrant Resource Council started, was like, okay, all these individuals who have their hands in helping out this population are going to have this group. So you come up north and we have pretty much anybody you can imagine that works with this population in our meetings. We have about 22 that show up every month, and it's from, you know, law, from attorneys, health, education, health. We have, I mean, like pretty much anything you can think of, we have it. But again, it's that we are liaisons to connecting families before they come or when they get here to the farmers. So we have a connection with who those farmers are, but they only know us by phone. They don't know our faces. I mean, if we were to cross paths, we wouldn't know who they are. So that is something that we are, like Carolina said, we are lacking farmers knowing who it is that's helping them connect these families to the services once they get here. So the purpose is that once they get here, it's how easy can we make it, because we know they're only here for a couple of months or a couple of weeks before they move to the next crop. And we've been just working as hard as we can to try to connect with as many people as possible. So when families get here, their stay is easier for them.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, B. So as we all know, you know, like COVID-19 is still happening. Have you seen what are some emerging issues, I guess, with the migrant populations with COVID-19 and maybe food access, or any issues with housing as a result?
Well, we have a strategy that we started actually last year when all this started, right? This madness. What we did last year was to keep our network really close. So we kept meeting every week in order to know when families and crews arrive in the area. That way we could know exactly where the new people that had to be like isolated were. So in that, and so every time a new group came or a new family came, what we did was to access to like find some way to connect to them, and we had already sent information to the farmers through the health departments. We kind of helped organizing or connecting all the health departments in order to create material in Spanish that would be actually posted in the units. And so as they will come, they will be able to access the information that they need to try to stay safe, and recommending not to go to the stores and that, and providing phone numbers and contact information for people in the community that could actually help them by picking up food and bringing them to their homes. And we also connected with a few groups of ladies around that were just sewing away and making a lot of masks, right? So we got masks and hand sanitizer, and we were distributing those items as soon as we knew that they were here. We did a lot of that for like a very good part of the summer. And then pretty much things started calming down, and they were less, as crews were here for a longer time. They were in a very good situation. We had a couple farms that had a little bit of trouble because they got cases of COVID, but the clinic, Northwest Michigan Health Services, and the health department, actually, we worked together to be able to reach out to them and bring testing and clinics and education as soon as we were able to get the results. And if we had positives, we would go back to the farm and explain and work with them on educating and explaining what was going to happen from that on. Our health department, through the Community Connections program, we were able to support those people that were isolated by helping them with whatever they needed. So we would pick it up and bring it to them in order for them to stay contained as possible. There were other resources in the community that they were working with us. DHS would actually come with us, and we would do applications for them to be able to get some reimbursement for, like, some money for them for the time that they had been out of work. Like, there were all kinds of support there for them, thank goodness. And they also had a place where they could actually, if the farmer didn't have enough units to be able to isolate the person or the family, there was a place where they could actually transport this family of this person to keep it safer for everybody, you know, and so they can stay there and until they recovered, and then bring the person or the family back to the camp. Currently, we have already started working on reuniting or reconnecting with the different health departments that are represented in our area. We have created a interest registration form that is I think is right now being tested. Really, that happened just 2 weeks ago. We have sent the link to some people, just try it and see how it's working. But I think since our meeting is actually on Friday, this Friday, we will send it to everybody so they start working with it. It is working really well. We are using that form to register people, like seasonal and migrant farm workers that are in the area already, so we know where they are, and we can try to connect them to the clinics that are doing vaccination. We want to try to, like, this population can become invisible really easily. They can disappear to everybody's, and they are not able to access services as easily as other people because they usually don't speak English. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of movements and people helping people, but they are shy and they are afraid of speaking up, and they are usually not able to speak up, like speak with somebody in their language. So it's hard for them to access this. So this is the idea of this form, is that us that go around and that know them and that work with them are able to connect them with services that way, especially for vaccination and for testing. Since our first groups of H2A workers are going to start showing up pretty soon, Ginger said in March. groups that are coming in. So we want to try, they are working really hard on trying to find ways for the farmers to be able to have access to testing as soon as the workers are here. We believe that one of the things that they were required to do last year was to test their workers within the first 48 hours after their arrival in the area. So we believe that that's still going to stand and keep and that's the way they're going to want us to do things. So we are already talking with the Northwest Michigan Health Services, and I believe they are looking for ways to do this. The clinic actually has two vans that they can use to be able to bring and do these mobile clinics, to go to the farms and do testing there, or vaccination clinics in the location, so they don't have to go anywhere else. There's all kind of things happening, but nothing is set in stone right now. We are still talking. We have been meeting weekly, right, B? I think our next meeting is next week, and we have been talking with well, Ginger yesterday connected with some people at the ortho station, so to try to bring in some farmers into this conversation. So like hopefully we will have farmers involved in our next meeting, and that's gonna make it a lot easier to be able to coordinate and help and find the best way to do this.
Carolina, my question is, do you ever connect with the Northwest Michigan Horticulture Station? They do a fruit net, a newsletter, I think every week or so. Do you ever put out some of this stuff on that newsletter?
That's what, I'm sorry, B.
No, I'm saying, no, that's Ginger does that for us. I know we did have one event maybe 2-3 years ago. The years go by so fast, but we did have an event there, and we did have a really good response with farmers coming out and asking us questions. And we had a very good panel, and we presented kind of what we did. A lot of times we know we have to present it in a way where we're going to get farmers to come and hear the topics that we want to present to them, and the importance of it and how it's going to help them. So yes, Ginger does that for us.
And she actually was who connected us with them this week to try to get out some kind of information in the link and the invitation for farmers to join us next week in our meeting. So they should be sending something pretty soon.
Just want to express gratitude for all those systems that you're coordinating and all the help that you're providing. As you know me, Carolina, I'm a data and systems thinker. So I wanted to revisit one of the systems you described, which was about linking workers with the service of sort of volunteer food delivery. How did you identify that need and then coordinate volunteers to assist? I'm sure that many folks would be interested to help out in the places where they live and nearby to where they work, perhaps this upcoming season, if that's still something you're interested to provide.
Well, one of the short legs that we had before all this virus thing came around was that we were very behind in connecting with social media and technology. We love our face-to-face meetings and being able to hang out with people and have a meal together, and we're really good at that. But we are still learning how to navigate all this Facebook world and all this technology and things. So we are working on getting our website up to date, so we can connect that way with folks out in the community. We have a Facebook page now, and actually last year Daniel and Josh Stalls helped us out putting together a page that it was like a Excel page where we all had access to, and they would enter their information. Like if I had, for example, 40 masks, I would put that information in, and everybody could see that. And if I had a need, I would put, oh, I have 10 workers that need families or whatever. I had access to this, and I would actually try to connect them. If I didn't see that that was some connection happening already, I would contact the person and tell them, hey, this person has the masks, and we would actually connect that way. It worked really well, really. And we were really thankful that Josh actually connected us with Daniel, and that between both of them helped us to put this together.
Yeah, so we'll be honest, not a lot of us are tech savvy. I would say 90% of us are not. So we're lucky and we hold on to that person who is. And so they, you know, would set up spreadsheets or connect us to this and that person. But you know, at the end of the day, our funding depends on, you know, finding the individuals who are coming to our area. And so our program was really lacking in a lot of other programs because our funding depends on, you know, finding these individuals who need the services and identifying them. And so we couldn't go out to the camp. So we really had to be super creative. We, you know, made it a priority to meet once a week. And I know, I mean, people really changed their schedule around, but everybody was living from home. So, you know, hopping onto Zoom was the easiest thing. So we had a really, really good audience every week, and everybody who had their strengths in certain areas was pulling together so that we could make this, you know, available to everybody, and so that people could go out in some sort of way to provide services at a safe distance. But we still needed to identify who the individuals were that were in our community, that we pretty much always have the same regular people that come. For example, let's say in March, we know who these people are because we've been able to track them. So we just had to find a way to be able to reach out to them and do services over the phone, or a lot of them struggled because they didn't know how to work Zoom. So it was just us having to be very creative as to how are we going to connect them with, you know, the schools, because a lot of these kids, you know, were not getting an education. They were arriving in March and it was, you know, almost May, and they hadn't had any sort of education. So we knew that we really just needed to reach out to individuals who were strong in technology, especially to be able to help us so that we could help our families. And we were able to identify a huge amount of individuals, and then with word of mouth, you know, because they knew that we would kind of just do a quick drop off, you know, because we still had to do outreach. And so it was like, okay, Carolina, you can go out and can you know, get to these 10 families. Somebody else will drop off, you know, mask and hand sanitizer. Somebody else will drop off, you know, kits, somebody else. And so, you know, the blankets and bedding, everything that goes with, you know, you being able to survive in Michigan, because, you know, it was still cold. So it was just being very, very creative and tapping into individuals who could help us to make this a possibility.
It was very important for us to be able to keep in touch with, thank goodness, because like most of us were not recruiting, most of us were not going out because we were all working from home and not allowed to go out to the fields, and that we had the blessing of having DHS working with us, and they were able to know where people were. Michigan Works also worked with us, and they knew where people were arriving and where the farms that had openings, and we kept an eye on that. And our educators did a wonderful job on reaching out to families and just try to keep us, updated, so we could actually reach out to and try to, one way or another, supply what they needed. And I think it was very successful. We had, for the longest time, no cases in the area for many weeks. So I think it was it was successful, and the way we just use every single piece of information that we could, and the network was really close, and communication was very big key to be able to make this happen. So.
Hearing you both describe this sort of outreach and then the services you're able to provide, I'm coming to the understanding that much of what happened was by the effort of your MRC group directly, which is just really amazing, and just quite a feat for you to organize and coordinate in that way when you're all coordinating digitally. And you probably have connected to many community groups such as the mask sewers and others who came together to organize in what's being called like mutual aid. It's the concept of just neighbors helping neighbors too. And I know that efforts have continued into this year, and there's just a renewed energy of neighborhoods organizing to support one another in tough times, pandemic or otherwise. So as a neighbor and also as someone connected to this food and farming network, I'd love to stay connected about this upcoming year in ways that we can be part of that communication chain. There are some, as you said, social media has been a system for folks to connect. And then there are some other systems where folks are trying to organize, posting help and posting needs in kind of message board type arenas. So I'm happy to stay in touch about some of those ways that we might be able to connect, but also to just ease some of the burden that y'all have really championed to make sure that people aren't without services in a way of in so much as it's safe and can protect the confidentiality and safety of the individuals who are being served. I could be a food delivery person in my neighborhood and close to where I live, I'm sure. So just inviting more conversation about how others folks might be able to help. And I think it's just a matter of doing the same thing that you described with linking the needs for masks of like, here's where I can help and here's what I need, and trying to make sure those dots get connected.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for all you did. It's really quite amazing.
Diane?
Hi, thanks. I was interested, you mentioned that you spoke with schools to connect for education purposes for the kids. And I wondered whether or not you had connected with them for food also. And the reason I'm specifically interested in that is that with the 10 cents a meal program that I mentioned, in most of the schools, all of the schools in Leelanau County, Traverse City, and I'd have to look up to see the rest in the multi-county area that you serve, but many of them have grants to purchase Michigan grown and locally grown fruits and vegetables. And schools are going through crazy times right now in terms of what food service is doing to really try to get healthy food to our kids. It's a difficult time because they're needing to deal sometimes with packaged foods, and but there also are ways that they were actually able to have boxes to deliver home to families that would just have whole fruits instead of needing to cut them up into like half cup portions and things like that. And so I'm really interested to see if you've tapped into school systems for food for families and understand some of the ways that that changed this year due to COVID. And if there are ways that I can help make some connections to make sure that kids get connected, your families get connected to get food that might be possible through the 10 cents a meal grants, I'd be happy to.
Well, I know like out in Leona County, so I would be helping families connect them to the schools. The thing that we were running into was like, for example, I work out of Sutton's Bay schools. And so we would go and drop off the food door to door. But for example, Leland School would have like 3 sites and they would, have to drive there. But, if parents are out pruning, or that's not a possibility easy for them to go. So that's one of the things that we were running into. The other thing is that the food bags that were already prepared, like say it would have their little bag of carrots and milk, or I don't know if it was like a granola bar, but all of them every day had a sandwich, and we don't really eat sandwiches culturally. It was a thing we were running into that people were like, you know what, let's just cancel it. So we had to cancel so many of those orders that families were receiving because it was just going to waste. It was food that yes they could use, but it wasn't the food that they were used to eating. So that was something that we had to then think out of the box. And when we have our migrant program in the summer, we team up with Leona Christian Neighbors in Leona County. And so Leona Christian Neighbors will do a menu that we say, hey, this is the menu. It's culturally, what our families will use and eat. So that has worked. So that is something, I try to express to the schools a lot that, not everybody is going to eat the same thing. Not everybody will recognize it. And so that was just one of the sad things that I know a lot of our families could have used, those bag lunches that the schools were providing, but it wasn't what, they were used to eating. So that was just something that we couldn't really tap into and continue using because they, like family said, we don't want it to go to waste. If somebody else can use it, that will eat it. But like I say, in the summer for summer school, it does work nicely. Another thing that, not to jump around, but when COVID did hit, food pantries were just pre-making these huge bags and giving them out to families. But, when families end up moving, we were getting just a lot of feedback from farmers. I mean, a lot of food is left behind. We don't typically eat canned fruit. We'd rather have the fresh stuff. And so, when you're given this huge bag of stuff that you don't know what it is and you're not really going to eat it, there's a lot of waste that goes in. And it's sad to say because, our food pantries are out there giving food, but it's not being used a lot by our community.
Do you have that menu that you mentioned that could be shared? Because I might be able to get that to people at Michigan Department of Education and see if there's any way to assist, just to give schools some ideas of some easy ways that they could have more culturally appropriate foods for at least one segment of our state population.
Yeah, I'll send it to, I don't know if it was Daniel or somebody who emailed me, and I'll send it to him so he can share out.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Someone else? Any more questions?
Yeah, I know last time we got together, another issue that Ginger had noticed on farms was the lack of recycling opportunities for migrant families on the farm. And I'm wondering if there's any ideas about how we can maybe go about getting more recycling on the farm for folks. I know with the meat program, which I run, the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program in our area, we're really geared towards looking at conservation practices on the farm. But one of those areas that we don't necessarily look at through our program is really recycling and things like that, especially for migrant housing. So I'm wondering if that's something from an MDARD perspective we can look at. and maybe work with Ginger and see if that's something we can get going up here. That was one of my thoughts. If has anyone noticed anything? Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that.
Well, I think that there's some barriers for our families to be able to do that. They're usually located in places that are kind of remote and from the recycling centers. That's not something that we have in our countries that is not available for us. So many of us have to actually learn. I have been in this country for like, it's going to be 12 years pretty soon. And I didn't do this until I was here. And I'm still sometimes struggling thinking, can I recycle this or not? And that's something that it takes time to get used to and to know, right? They are in our area just for a few weeks or for a few months, and then leave to a completely different place. So that might also be a little bit of a barrier for them, having to relearn all these things every time they come back. So I believe they would do it if we put a little bit of education into it and just working with them in a fun way to be able to engage them into this idea, and maybe bring recycling centers closer to the places where they are.
I think one thing that would help with that, first of all, I can totally see those barriers. Those are very real and tall barriers to overcome. I think one thing that would help would to be reduce the food waste. As someone who works at a food bank where we have an on-site pantry, but we also provide food to other food pantries. I would love for either you, B, or Carolina to come and look at the food that we provide, because I can guarantee a lot of it probably wouldn't be necessarily culturally appropriate. And I didn't even really know or realize about the canned fruits and vegetables that you typically don't eat, I guess. And so that's something that we don't even think about. And so we have probably 5 or 6 cans of those in each box that we give out. And if we're just going to be prescribing these boxes to folks without actually asking for their feedback, I think that in itself could reduce a lot of waste. And even so, just kind of copying that process to different other processes too, outside of food. But
I have a question for any of the three of you. We've talked about technology and how important it became even more important in all of our lives. Most of our lives last a year ago, almost now. And you've mentioned the maybe lacking in the tools of technology, or some knowledge that now you're coming up to speed fast on. I'm wondering on the opposite end. It's just because I'm not familiar. I know there's places my cell phone won't work in Leelanau County, and other places that seem like it should. So given that the end user that you're trying to connect with may not have connectivity, and this is an issue for lots of our rural residents, but I'm just wondering if that's another barrier, that just the lack of internet access.
Well, definitely it is. Yeah. It's like there's many of us that have been out and they're in farms and in the migrant housing cannot, like, will say that, because it's not, some of the farms just don't have enough signal to be able to connect and to be able to or to sustain or keep them in the meetings, or keep them connected with whoever we are trying to connect them. That's why we often combine that with like flyers and material that goes out to the farms. But we are also, in that case, we also face the other humongous monster that is in our way for success, which is the level of education that our families usually have is a little low in the lower end, and they have a harder time reading even Spanish. And so we have people that are simple, and they didn't finish school, and they don't read well. So it's very intimidating to them to face to have to go through this paper full of words. And sometimes if we are not careful, we can use words that are too complicated and too fancy, and it's not simple enough, that it's just not going to be, like, that paper is going to end up in the trash. And that's where many of our flyers go to at the end of the day without being read. So the idea is that flyers and things could be simple, and use maybe a person could come and talk with them instead of using, a lot of like paper materials and like printed and that kind of things.
Yeah, and like Alina said, a lot of these farms are found in places where there's not great internet service, but what we also find is that we already know how expensive it is to pay a phone bill. So a lot of our families have the prepaid minutes. So having to figure out, when are they going to put minutes again on their phone? And that's one of the things, a lot of our families have the prepaid minutes that they put on their phones.
Can I ask a question? This is Kelly. In talking about this, it strikes me, is there, do you also work with the farmers who are bringing people onto their farm to work to help them help the people on their farm a little more, or be more involved in some of this outreach?
So we reach out to farmers a lot, but we haven't had luck.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're kind of stuck at.
That seems like something that maybe even, like Daniel was talking about, other partner organizations could maybe help with some of that, elevate the importance of it. Because it seems
Carolina,
like,
you had said that in your next meeting, you're actually expecting to have some additional farm attendees. So I was wondering how you reach those participants and how we can continue to help that outreach. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to meet next week with our health departments and the health providers, basically, that are participating with us, to try to talk about testing and vaccination for workers, and how that's going to look for us for the upcoming months. And so that was it was through Ginger Vanderhagen connected us with the ortho station, so we could come out, like they're gonna send a message to all the farmers to be able to spread the word and try to get some of them to attend to that meeting.
Yeah, so it's the invite with the hopes.
Yeah, yes. There's other people trying to actually connect with farmers in other areas in our counties that are in our area, and dairy farmers, and everyone that might possibly be involved with hiring Hispanics in their as part of their crews. We have some participation. In the past, we had some participation of a few farmers. Ginger is actually a farmer as well, and her family. And so we had like very sporadic participation from some farmers. Our council by tradition meets during the months that the workers are here, but we actually changed that a few years ago, right? We like probably about 5 years ago or so, we decided that we would stay on meeting through the year, and I can just meet year round to be able to at this time of the year try to coordinate and expand our connections and that network in order to come out with new projects for the season. And by the time workers are here, we have things in place that they're planned and ready to go to start implementing once families are here. So that is the idea. We have been talking already with some groups to try to do this thing. I have been in touch with Casey and with Jane, and we're talking about a couple things that we want to do in the summer. Hopefully COVID will let us. Yeah, it's very exciting.
And that's another issue that seems like it would bring more farmers to the table, because Michigan has opened up starting March 1st for immunizations for agricultural and food workers. So it seems like it's important to the farmer as well as to the families that are working on the farm that we get as many immunizations as possible. So it seems like that might be a good coalescing point to bring farmers together to say, hey, let's organize and help create sites, or, and working with the Northwest Health Services, because they're supposed to get vaccines and they have those mobile units.
Yes.
So maybe that's a hook to get people in.
And they're actually talking about maybe training that if they're able to get some test kits for the farmers to be able to do their testing right there at the farm as soon as people start arriving. We were talking this week actually about having a training set up for farmers to be able to do this correctly and to be able to report this, because it's important for us to get that information and that is done well, and that is not going to create a bigger problem. And now we can coordinate. If they're participating to this and they are involved in this, we will be able to get a better work done. Definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Dan Fouch out on Old Mission Peninsula has been pretty active in trying to accelerate farm workers and farmers getting vaccinations, and said to me that he was willing to take the lead in helping to organize. So he might be somebody to connect with. I can help you with that.
Thank you.
I know we're over time, Parker, but I recognized at least one longtime farmer's name on the call, and I just wondered, Jim, if you're still listening. And I know this is dangerous with 2 minutes after, but I'm curious, because I know you have tremendous experience and insight to what we've been talking about today. Yep, and he's either away or muted, so.
I think somebody wants to say something. The Zoom user.
Yeah, I've been wanting to, and probably add to what Jim was saying too. I'm really disturbed about the lack of farmer participation, and I understand it historically because there's always been this issue of some conflict in their minds. And The MEEP program is a very good example of how we overcame, when I was an ag commissioner, how we overcame the resistance from the farm community over participating in environmental programs, because we made it a reward program and an incentive program. The MEEP program is set up that way to reward farmers in some way for their voluntary participation in programs. So we ought to look at that MEEP model. There's no reason why we couldn't have a Michigan Migrant Farmer Assistance Program, helping the farmer be involved in programs that make it easier for them and their migrant workers, because this has always been an issue that's fraught. It doesn't work unless the Farm Bureau is on board, and they have an active migrant mission, but they work on national policy and immigration issues. But this is the one opportunity the next 4 years moving forward, with the new administration in Washington, with immigration reform, with Senator Stabenow coming back to the Senate Ag Committee, and the House Chair of the Ag Committee is somebody who's involved in small farms, as a African-American herself. So minority farm issues and farmer issues. And, you know, if we don't get this solved in this next 4 years, we'll never get it solved. We've been talking about it for 20 years. So it's, let's look at that MEEP program really closely and see what makes the MEEP program finally be accepted by farmers, where farmers line up now to get themselves certified, because it's something they can be proud of. We can get them involved and proud of what they do to assist their workers. We might turn this thing around. And there'll be federal dollars out there now. So we ought to get Senator Stabenow up here and sit her down and explain to her exactly what the issues are and how she can come to the table with USDA.
Yeah, absolutely. Great thoughts there, Don. Well, I do want to be cognizant of everyone's time. We are about 5 minutes over. And I just really want to express great gratitude to Bea and Carolina for joining us this morning. And I personally have learned so much, and this is just such an engaging conversation, and so many more connections to be made, and things to think about and join together to work for, you know, our migrant workers up here. Does anyone else have any parting thoughts they'd like to share?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
Thank
next
you.
month, the topic is food sovereignty. And we will be joined by some individuals. Or who's joining us again, Wendy?
Well, for sure confirmed is Joe Van Alstein from the Little Traverse Bay Band. He is the chair of their farming board there, and going to talk about food issues in Indian country. So it'll be another great topic, and hope to see a lot of you there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, everyone enjoy the sunshine today. It's a beautiful day, and yeah, let's stick together and work on this stuff. All right. Small Farms
Bye-bye.
Conference this weekend.
Bye. Danielle, are you available for a call if I call you quickly?
Me, Daniel?
Yeah. Can I call you on the phone in a minute?
Yeah, let's have a quick call.
Okay, thank you.
I can put my number in the chat.
It's 622-5252.
Oh, that's gonna go to like a crosshatch line. Let me give you my cell.
Can you give it to me verbally?
Yeah, 231-714-9730.
Thank you.
Yeah, talk soon.
All right. See y'all later.
Thank you.